Hello, hello, luminaries. All right, let's see if I can figure this out this time. Where are those comments? Just in case. Let's see. All right, hello. Oh, are these comments working? All right, I'm gonna wait for a second just so that Facebook can tell everyone that I'm here. Let's see. All right. Hello, hello. Will you do me all a favor and drop something in the comments just so I can see if the comments are indeed working for me this time? I've been having issues with Facebook Live lately. Um, oh, yes. Kai. Hello, love. How are you? Thank you so much. Ari here for transformation. So perfect. So Jeff and I actually prepared a few slides for this because it was so deep. As I was posting things about this Pluto retrograde and noting how so many of us in the Savvy Luminary actually have natal energies that are being impacted by Pluto this retrograde, and just seeing all of the kind of, hey Cynthia, how are you? Just kind of seeing kind of a little bit of tension, a little bit of fear, and just why do so many of us spiritual entrepreneurs have energies that are being impacted, and what does this all mean right now? So I wanted to hop on, and just as I was going through everybody's comments, I was like, oh look, there is like this perfect outline here. So like Pluto, what it means. So today, what I wanted to talk about, and as people come in, please introduce yourselves and say hello, and we'll have time to answer some questions. But really what inspired me was just so many of us had natal energies being impacted by this Pluto retrograde cycle, and I really wanted to talk about what is Pluto in our chart. What does this retrograde cycle mean? Because Pluto is not a personal planet. I mean, Pluto was discovered as one of the modern planets, and then it was demoted to a dwarf planet. And so it has like this generational aspect because Pluto takes just forever to go around the chart. And so, hey Shannon, hey Sveta, good to have you here. So I want to talk about that Pluto cycle, what it really means to us personally when they are impacting our natal planets, which we have been feeling. Kind of some of the midlife transits for those of us who have crossed their midlife transits, like me. The midlife transits start happening anywhere from 35 until like 45, and it's like this huge amount of shakeup. And if you've been in it or have passed it, you know what I mean. I also want to talk about the different aspect types with Pluto happening during this retrograde cycle and the phases of this retrograde cycle. And then I'm going to drop off with us the formula on how to figure out this exact transformation that you are going through, what we need to really learn about this. All right, so what does this all mean for you? Not to just drop all of these facts. So, does that sound good? So Pluto went retrograde, stationed retrograde last week, and Pluto just moves really, really small, like very, very slowly around the chart. So during this retrograde cycle, it's only moving from 26 degrees of Capricorn back through 24 degrees of Capricorn, and then it's going to circle back and highlight. So basically, as it was going forward at the earlier part of the year, it was going from 24 to 26 degrees of Capricorn, and that was our first cycle, okay, the first highlighter, if you're thinking of marking over a highlighter. Now during its retrograde, Pluto is going back, highlighting over that same part of the chart, and then after the retrograde is over, after about 6 months, I don't have the date off on top of my head, it's going to highlight that one area again. So we get this like transformation triple load. Almost always when we have a natal impact with Pluto, because it's moving so slowly, this is kind of like a more than a year kind of transformation. Oftentimes we'll feel the results of a true Pluto transformation anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And if we're not consciously and mindfully working with Pluto, like transformation, we all need to transform, and Pluto is giving us a gift essentially. And if we keep on resisting transformation, like we're resistant to change, well then Pluto's just going to feel like he's just like blowing shit up for us. But if we're really mindful and working intentionally with Pluto, Pluto wants us to become its friend. Pluto is saying like all of those pains and those fears and those shames, all the things that Pluto represents, is here to be examined, is here to befriend, is here to go deep and like explore and then come up. So oftentimes I talk about Pluto as yes, it's the distillation process, but if you think of like distilling something, what does distilling really mean? Like if we're distilling things into an essential oil, or if we're distilling making something into a gin or a whiskey or some kind of alcohol, that distillation process is really purification, right? And that's why we associate Pluto a lot with Scorpio, because when we think about Scorpio energy, Scorpio is ruled by both Mars and Pluto. When we think about Scorpio energy, that process that it symbolizes in our body is about detoxification. It's about like literally eliminating. So Pluto is our process to eliminate, to purify. Yes, Cynthia, to cleanse. And we need this process, right? Even looking at the glyph of Pluto, it one of the traditional glyphs of Pluto, it's literally like a kebab stick with a hunk of meat on top of it. So now when we're doing these kinds of Pluto retrograde cycles, like you'll notice that for those of us that have Pluto in Libra, there's a lot of us, because Pluto will stay in a sign sometimes up to like 20 something years. So this is a generational thing. Like all of us born around like the late 70s and like the 80s and like late 80s, like we all have Pluto in the same sign. And so this is not necessarily affecting us individually. In our natal charts, Pluto is really important if it's on one of the angles. So if you have Pluto on your rising, if you have Pluto on your descendant or your midheaven or your IC, then Pluto is really, really strong in your personality, in your psychology, and of course then in your business, because our businesses are extensions of us. Yes, Cynthia. So alchemy is like a perfect Plutonian concept. And this distillation, this simplifying, this making it better, we're getting into that, like thinking about, again, going back to the idea of the pressurizing, right? Coal, which is like this dirty, gross, like, fuel energy source, but it's like really, if you've ever touched a piece of charcoal, even your hands turn black and sooty. But through a long-term transformation process where the earth is building pressure, it's this charcoal, coal, that carbon, this pure carbon that turns into diamonds. And so that's what Pluto really does for us in that distillation process. It creates diamonds. So when we're looking at it from this place of Pluto, it's like, Pluto is just helping us become more brilliant, right? It's helping us become more of this diamond. So if you have Pluto on your angles, or if you have Pluto conjunct one of your luminaries, like your sun or your moon, maybe even some of your personal planets, then we have more Pluto in our charts. Then it becomes more significant to us personally. Now, if Pluto is in your chart just kind of floating around Libra and not really making any aspects, you don't really have this like big Plutonian energy, except when it comes to transits. All of us will have some kind of Pluto activation sometime during our lives. And these are really necessary transformational times, obviously, because we need to become more brilliant. We need to become more distilled. So when the process of like I said, the Pluto retrograde process of going back and forth 3 times, 6 months ago, when Pluto was first crossing over 24 to 26 degrees of Capricorn, in that first effort, Pluto was showing us what needs to break down. Like things might have started breaking down. So like just to put this into context, I will give my personal example, because Pluto right now is sitting directly on my natal Venus in Capricorn, like just sitting right on top. And so say 6 months ago, and like back in September or so, and Venus represents relationships. So about 6 months ago, I fucking had it with my husband. I was like, I'm getting a divorce. I don't want to be here anymore, because our relationship was in this breakdown, right? And that's what Pluto is like this breakdown momentum. And now that Pluto is going backwards, we are kind of like, we've looked at like what was broken and how we might kind of fix things. And so we don't have any solutions yet, but we're not literally in that phase of like fighting and like hating on each other and like I'm like ready to go like move out or anything like that. Like things are stable, yet we're still in that transformation process. And if I believe in, and I do believe in what I teach, is that when I look forward to when after Pluto stops going retrograde and goes back forward, I will know that our relationship will have reached a purification process. Do we stay together? Do we break apart? I don't know yet what that will be, but I do know that our relationship, whatever the result is, will be more pure, will be more aligned to what we both need in this life. So does that make sense with everybody, how that 3-part process of a Pluto activation will happen for you? So curious to know in the comments who currently has any planets that are being activated by this Pluto. So cardinal signs between 24 and 26 degrees, or earth signs between 24 and 26 degrees. Who has any energies there? I know almost all of you do, because as I was asking when in the Savvy Luminary, in one of those posts, people are like, oh my gosh, I have my moon here, I have my sun here, I have my my own Pluto being squared right now. So for a lot of us, if you have Pluto at the late degrees of Libra, so you're born somewhere in the mid to late 80s, you're having your first Pluto square Pluto right now. And that first Pluto square Pluto, it's like, welcome to midlife. And I know that people, especially a lot of women, are like, oh my gosh, I'm not a midlifer. Like, I think midlife is like 60 years old. It's like, no, honey, that's not true. Connie says moon at 27 degrees Aries. Yes. And Karen, Venus and Chiron in Aries around that. So yeah, so for Connie, you are having these your emotions and your emotional security and your intuition are going through this distillation process. And Karen, for you, your relationships, just like me, and Chiron, your wounded healer, like really like, hey Karen, are you really contributing what you're supposed to be contributing? Like looking at all of the wounds that you've attempted to heal in your life, even though you might not yet be perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. You are now offering everything that you've learned and contributing back into that world. And so Pluto is really pushing you forward and saying, hey Karen, if you're not there yet to contribute that back, well, oh my gosh, so Connie, yes, a volcano eruption with your emotions. And so again, it's like that transform or be transformed, right? If you're consciously consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't really matter. The result is going to be the same. Like you're going through that process, and all of it is okay. It's totally okay to have these volcanic eruptions in our life. So Cynthia, yes, great question. Is Mercury 20 degrees in Capricorn close enough? So somebody else in the Savvy Luminary had asked this question about like, what orb do I use when I'm looking at Pluto transits? Because Pluto moves so freaking slowly, right? It's I tend to keep a very close orb. Unless it's on an angle or with one of our luminaries. So personally for me, Cynthia, I would say like for you, your communications, transformation and distillation already passed, right? So if there's any kind of residuals, it's just about you getting clearer about how you're supposed to say things more effectively, but you had your communication breakthrough as Pluto went straight through. I don't remember what the retrograde cycle was for 2020 for Pluto, but I think it wasn't right on that 20 degrees. Oh, good, Karen. You said that's exactly what's been happening. Serious depths of emotions. Yes. So I'm glad that everybody, well, I'm not glad. I'm good to confirm that so many of us have energies at any of the cardinal signs. So Aries, Libra, Capricorn, Cancer, around 24 to 26 degrees, 27, totally in that orb. Oh, thanks, Connie. I love my, I got my nail polish color for kind of Taurus season, but it looks a little bit more Pisces, but I'm totally into it. So I wanted to just say a little more about these midlife transits. So, the first midlife, there's three midlife transits. One is about Pluto square Pluto, where your natal Pluto, the Pluto that you were born with, and then the transiting Pluto is squaring off. So, that's why Capricorn, for those of us who have late Libra Plutos in our natal chart, are starting their first midlife crisis. I hate that's midlife creative tension. It's not a crisis, okay? This is a creative tension that's saying, hey, are you living your life to what you really thought it would be? And if you're not, this is your chance to get on the train, because if you don't get on the train during these midlife transits, if you don't get on that path, like this is your second chance. If you don't get on that path, you've seen so many like older people who have all of these regrets. You don't want to be one of those people. So take the creative tensions that happen in your midlife transits and really say, okay, I'm serious now. It's never too late, okay? And that midlife transit, it's like, okay, time to get on the train now. The other two midlife transits that are happening would be then also the Saturn square Saturn. So that would be like the 30 plus 7, so 37-ish years old is when the Saturn square Saturn, and then you get your Uranus opposite Uranus somewhere between 38 and 42. So you can see how these three transits, kind of these midlife transits, they start to pile up on top of each other and they don't feel comfortable. You know, parents or loved ones may pass, or you might get a shakeup in your life. Those are some of the things that can happen during those transits, but they're nothing to be afraid of. Like, so for example, when I had my Uranus opposite Uranus transit, I had it when I was 40. And when I was 40, I ended up having a child and getting married, because that totally changed my life. I had this totally free flowing life before. So again, nothing to be afraid of, but it's the shakeup that we need. So let's talk about these aspects and the transformation types that are available. So Jeff, can you pop in that slide that we created? I don't know how to share my slides. Let's see. Can I figure out how to share this without turning this off? You know what? I'm not going to even do it. But Jeff is going to drop in a slide. Is that possible? Comment with a sticker, insert emoji. Can you add a link maybe to it, Jeff, if you're still listening? Because I have this really great slide. Or does anybody know off their top of their head how I can share a slide while I'm already on live? I should have figured this out. Oh, perfect. So Jeff is on his knee and he said he uploaded it to the files. So if anybody is able to, oh, it says graphics. Graphics are not supported using the camera. Stream setup. Use camera. Karen, are you one of the I call myself a late bloomer. Yeah, so start share screen. No, I can't do it. Okay, so anyway, if you go to the files, I have this kind of this circle, and it shows you where Pluto is and the relationships that it has that it may for you be impacting. And so, oh, thank you, Jeff, for putting in that slide link. And so in this slide link, you can see, so for those of you that had those Aries planets, because Aries is happens after Capricorn, you can think of this as it's a square because it's in Cardinal, so it's a square, and squares are usually kind of these creative tensions. You know, in traditional astrology, they'll say that these are the hard transits, but really I love to look at the squares like a moon phase, because that's what they are. So if you think about like the first quarter moon, or I wrote down here the second quarter moon, whatever you call it, first or second quarter moon, where half of the moon is illuminated and the other half is dark, this is that first phase. And that phase really talks about creative tension, where outside influences are happening to you. So Connie, you mentioned your moon being in Aries at 27 degrees of Aries. That emotional volcano is likely a result of external things happening to you that you have to react to and integrate. These are not things that you're integrating necessarily by choice, but it's things that you need to integrate. So I'm curious for Connie, what kind of outside experiences caused your volcano eruption that you mentioned earlier. And so, if you have any energies that are in Aries right now, look for outside experiences that are creating creative tension for you to distill and cleanse. So, like I said, for if we have any sun activities, so if you have your sun in these late Aries, the sun represents the creative vibrancy. The moon represents your emotional security. Your rising sign represents your leadership. So does trine mean anything for me? Cynthia asks. So my Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune are trining Pluto in your chart. Yeah, so Cynthia, I don't remember your chart, but are they Taurus or Virgo? Because those are important too. In the sheet, I also have the trines in that earth sign, because the trines are harmonious, right? Those are easy flow. And just like, I'll go back to the square, with that first quarter square, again, the outside experiences that are happening to us, and that second quarter square, thinking of it like the fourth quarter moon, where the moon is losing its light. These experiences now are these inner, subconscious, conscious mindset integrations, these inner transformations that you are choosing, not so much from the outside. So your Pluto is in Scorpio. Oh, so you're talking about your natal chart. So with your natal chart, unless your Pluto is on an angle or has connection to one of like your luminaries, like your sun and your moon, they are not as impactful. So trining your Scorpio Pluto, trining your Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune, there's going to be, I would say for sure, there's definitely your transformational harmony, like your ability to deeply transform intimacy. Pluto and Scorpio, your whole generation is about transforming intimacy. You have the ability to express yourself, you have your ability to create structures, and you have your ability to connect to spiritual tools. That's what I mean with the trine being in that harmonious aspect. If anyone has any of these any natal energies, so born with any energies in Taurus between 24 and 26 degrees, then these energies, your planetary energies, are going to be in harmonious flow. And so this first trine is about just things are happening easy for you, so you can really transform right now. Transformation feels easy, it doesn't feel hard. Now, if you have any planets in Cancer, at the ends of Cancer between 24 and 26 degrees, this is like a full moon transformation with Pluto. These energies in Cancer are being illuminated right now, and you have to come to a decision. So remember, a full moon is about fully illuminating, and a full moon wants to either break apart or come together. There's this push and this pull and this push and this pull and this push, but it's during this illumination that you have to decide. And so it has to break somehow, or it has to come together. That's what the illumination. So if you have any Cancer energies, transformation, you're going to have to decide on which side you're going to take, because if you don't decide, then it's going to feel like a high tide coming at you and making that decision for you, and we don't want that, right? So we can use these energies in very mindful and insightful ways. Now, if you have any energies in Virgo, so Virgo in the late degrees between 24 and 26 degrees, you get another easeful trine. And this kind of trine is different than that first trine that is happening right now for Taurus energies. But in Virgo energies, this energy of transformation between Pluto is now about manifestation. Okay, this is about if you've been working towards your goals and really conscious, the transformation that you've wanted to create, that's happening for you right now. And it probably feels really amazing to see this transformation happening for you with ease, with flow. Amazing. Congratulations if you have any of these Virgo energies. And then if you have any of these Libra energies, right? So for those of us who are kind of going through their first crisis, if you have your Pluto in late degrees of Libra, if you have any of the other energies, this is an internal, you're realizing things on the inside and you're having these big inner changes. So unlike the second quarter square where outside things are happening at you, this fourth quarter squares is like, okay, I learned my lessons. I know exactly what I need to change in my life and my business. And I'm having the opportunities to do this deep integrative work. So yes, so Cynthia, with your Libra moon at 28 degrees, this I would consider this, and this will intensify for you after after the next year as Pluto moves into 28 degrees. You're going to feel this more and more and more, but you're starting to get those kind of those insights and those sparkles of that emotional distillation that you are choosing on the inside to have happen. Yeah, you got it. You got it. So does everybody have, I'm curious to know, does anybody have kind of questions around those different aspects and what it means, like really specifically? Because once you understand these different aspects in that slide that we have linked up that I wish I could share with you, it shows you all of the different planets and energies of transformation. So you can really unlock and decode, I guess is the word, of what this transformation means to you, kind of by a formula. So in that slide, I wrote down, I now have the planet, and so it's kind of like fill in the blank, planet power to transform with, and then aspect. So it's kind of like a Mad Libs where you fill in the keywords that I provide for you. So for the example, because I have Venus in Capricorn, which at exactly 25 degrees right there. And so Venus represents connection, and a conjunction means the transformation aspect. The one keyword is that I'm choosing for us is impact. So if I fill in the blanks with my connection and impact, my formula for this Pluto evolution that we're going through for me personally is I now have the connection power to transform with impact. And so if we have this kind of key mantra, the next step for that mantra is that, now what does this mean for you, right? So earlier I gave the example of my personal relationship in my marriage, but if I start to look at the relationships and the connections that I'm also building in my business with aligned business partners, I now have the connection power to transform with impact. I'm looking at all of the different relationships that I can build with other impact makers. So I'm curious if you have any formulas that you might want to share based on, so for example, like let's Connie, if you're, I can't tell if you're still online, Connie, but so I'm going to use Connie's example of moon at 27 degrees in Aries. So according to the formula that I've put here, I now have the emotional security power to transform with outer creative tension. So again, this is just kind of a formula that I've put together. So Connie, now you get to decide, what does that mean for you in your life and your business? So yes, Connie, this is meant for you to use with your natal chart based on this transit. So you said you have Pluto in Virgo opposite the Sun in Pisces. So with that example, Connie, this Pluto retrograde at Capricorn between 24 and 26 degrees is activating and distilling and intensifying both your moon as well as your Pluto. So Connie, I gave you the example of your emotional security power being transformed because of outside experiences. But for your Pluto in Virgo, this is manifestation power, right? According, I don't have, of course, it would be easier if I had the visual here. But in that slide, when you go get it later, you can see with that Virgo power. So if I put in that formula with your Pluto, I now have the distillation power to transform with flowing manifestation. Again, we have the key phrase, kind of little mantra, and then you decide what that means to you. Um, your sun will be activated just because of, depending, I don't remember your chart off the top of my head, Connie, but if you have a very tight sun Pluto opposition, meaning within a couple of degree orbs, as Pluto, your natal Pluto starts to transform, as you choose transformation to manifest the things that you want to evolve in your business and your life, your sun, your creative vibrancy is going to have that effect of transformation too. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I was clear enough in how I created the. So Connie, with the 9 degree of orb, I wouldn't consider sun being activated there. Oh, hey, Michelle. Astrocartography session. Awesome. Will you be moving? No problem. I think we've covered most of everything. So I would love to use this time to answer questions and, discover what your formula for some of these energies that you have. And if you have questions about creating that formula, please let me know. Again, the formula is I now have the power, the planetary power, to transform with the aspect. So you can fill in the blanks with some of the suggestions that I've given in the slide that's in the file section of the Savvy Luminary. I know that Michelle has a lot of energies in her natal chart at late degrees of cardinal signs. So, Michelle has, the way that Michelle's chart at least is, she has a splay. So all of her energies are really well balanced around the chart, but she's always constantly getting all these different activations. She never gets a real rest. So I kind of nicknamed Michelle the perpetual phoenix rising because she's going through constant transformation. And maybe Michelle, you're like, okay, I'm done with transformation. I'm done with this. But if we think about the perpetual transformation, then that's your constant, right, Michelle? To always be in a constant state of perpetual motion. So curious to know, does anybody have any questions left about this Pluto? I felt really compelled to come on and share a little bit of information about this powerful process. It seems like a lot of us spiritual entrepreneurs are being called to deepen and intensify our own powers so that we start to share this in the world. Oh yes, 100, Michelle. This is it. Michelle says, it allows me to master transformation and teach it. Exactly. Because we are not here to be afraid of change. Change is the constant that we have in our lives and our businesses. So the more comfortable that we get with change, the more intentional that we can choose how we want to have change, the more that we can befriend Pluto and understand our fears and understand our shames, and instead of like locking it away in shadows and secrecy, Pluto wants us to bring these things up to light. It wants us to bring it up to the air, right? Get some fresh air, get some light, so that's how it disintegrates, by us befriending it instead of locking it away. Well, beautiful, Michelle. Thank you so much for recommending me to someone else right now. And I know a lot of us here listening right now have had the chance to have personal astrogram readings for me. And if you really love my work and appreciate my work, Jeff can set you up with an affiliate link, an affiliate program. So every time you refer me to someone, if they purchase through your link, you will get a cash bonus. And who doesn't love that? I work best with my projector energy. That is how I work best, is through referrals. I had to learn that the hard way with spending thousands of dollars on Facebook ads that never ever worked for me. So now, forgetting all of those things and just going through my referral networks and my lovely inner glowing circle, like all of you in the Savvy Luminary. All right, everyone. Well, if no other questions here, I will let you go to enjoy the rest of your Friday. It's our second to the we have two more today, and next week Friday are our last Venus in Taurus. So make sure you love yourself up a little bit today. Treat your body extra special. Get cozy and get some dark chocolate to ground you, and just feel into this cleansing, distillation, purification process of this Plutonian transformation. Oh, yay. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. So, Teresa, yes. I am currently, we are planning out a library of trainings, because as I have gone through kind of a few years of really figuring out how I want to share astrology work. I am not much of a coach. I am definitely more of a teacher. So we are in the process of building out a training library. And so having a few more courses come up. We have I always every month I have a new moon ceremony where we talk about the astrology of that new moon, and then we have our Mercury retrograde in Gemini coming up at the end of May. So I'll be having a Mercury retrograde masterclass for that, and then I'll be partnering with Amy Miyamoto, and we are going to be teaching a sustainable harvest cosmic cycle, so that everybody can look at their natal charts and kind of plan their life on a macro level. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we are rebuilding my introductory offer, a training on how to tap into your foundational energies to position your brand, looking at what you do so well, what success means to you, your leadership style, and your ideal customer. So that will be like the big thing that's coming out probably towards the end of summer. And then, of course, I have a class on my website called How to Read Your Natal Chart for Business, which will be updating very shortly as well. So Karen, a couple of late degree planets in Gemini and Leo. So those would be some of the quote unquote minor aspects, the aspects based on the 5 and the 5 harmonic. And so if you have aspects based on any of the 5 or 7 harmonics, I didn't cover those, or the sextiles. I didn't cover some of those more minor aspects. Those are more spiritual aspects with the quincunxes. So they're not like in this kind of physical world, but you know, if you have any of those aspects in energies in Gemini and Leo, start to notice any kind of spiritual evolutions or transformations that are happening for you with those energies. And then, Michelle, question, does it make more sense to look at our planets that are aspected in our natal chart stronger to explore which of those are aspected by Pluto retrograde? I would definitely start off with kind of looking at the squares, so all of the cardinal energies and then the trine energies, and then if you have any relationships to those energies that are in really tight orbs, like within like 1 or 2 degrees, then I may consider them. But like, let's, simplify, start off with kind of this, any cardinal, so Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn energies in those late degrees, and then Virgo, Taurus energies in those late degrees, and then go out from there. Otherwise, there's too many spices, too many cooks in the kitchen, and then it just gets convoluted. So it's better to kind of simplify and focus on those core energies at the first. So yeah, Sun, Jupiter, Saturn are stronger. Jupiter is at 24 degrees. Yeah, that Jupiter, that sense of expansion. Can you remind me where Jupiter is in your chart, Michelle? Is it, what sign is Jupiter in your chart? I know your sun is Aries, and I just can't remember where Jupiter Saturn is right now, because I can see the sacred geometry of your chart, but I can't like remember each of the placements. Your chart is like a web. So regardless, Jupiter is about transforming your ability to expand and believe in yourself. In Sagittarius. Oh, no, Sagittarius is, no, Jupiter in Sagittarius is not really going to be impacted by Pluto for this, because we're looking again at cardinal and primarily cardinal and primarily trines. For all of the other aspects, for, and if you have quincunxes or sextiles or what is the one that's the seven, I forget the word right now, sorry, mind fart. That one is I'm not looking at those right now. I want to focus in on the really like day-to-day transformations, the grounded physical transformations in our businesses. All right, everyone, I'm gonna go eat some quick lunch. I'm hungry. So thank you so much for joining me. And I intend to do these a little bit more often, come on to onto Facebook and share a little bit more of astrology. And of course, remember to head over to the Savvy Luminary podcast, because now it comes out twice a week, and we have some amazing podcasts coming up, including all of the May highlights on Sunday, and then on Wednesday we're talking about being plentiful with Natalie Miller. Wonderful. All right, everyone, talk to you soon. Enjoy.